Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Officers have noted fully the 8 recommendations that the independent audit have made. What we've done is assessed what are the critical things to bring to bear by 1st of November 2017. Meanwhile, working towards other parts of their recommendations that includes relationships across CCOs and other stakeholders, mana whenua, but equally the merits of the accreditation system. Blue Flag is the one that's referenced. Their report makes note of the 33 criteria and the substantial investment that would be required to meet those for bathing beaches. If I may, I was a bit remiss. I should have noted that there is 2 areas in Auckland which are accredited as blue flags, 2 marinas, the Landing and West Haven Marina. They are the only entities in New Zealand that have blue flags. So they've set a very high standard by which we, of course, aspire to follow.
And so with the blue flag status, it's not like you lodge an application for all your beaches. It can be by beach. And my understanding is some beaches right now, if they applied, or if we lodged an application, could achieve a blue flag status. We just haven't done it. It's not as unattainable as maybe suggested.
Looking specifically at the recommendation from the independent report, our advisors suggest that a review of third-party accreditation schemes should be undertaken jointly with our CCO partners. If it was the resolution of this committee to do so, we would commit, of course, to following that up.
Maybe further work there, Madam Chair. So just in terms of the sampling now, we're only sampling from 8 locations?
We're sampling
8 beach locations?
71 locations, 69 beaches and 3 lagoons.
Sorry, no, in the Waitemata area, I mean.
So the model, the Central Waitemata Harbour model has been based on 8 locations. The proposition from now, if you were to endorse through to 1st of November, is work to stand up that model across other locations. It's ambitious, but we believe we can do it with the investment that's been identified.
Yeah, so no, my question is, I know that there's broader sampling. This is not about all of Auckland. This is actually about a much narrower area. It's termed the Waitemata, even though it goes outside the core Waitemata into the Hauraki Gulf, which is Mission Bay and Kaui. I'm just trying to get my head around how much actual helicopter sampling is done within this area right now. How many beaches?
So 69 beaches are monitored on a weekly basis. Many of those have been monitored for up to 18 years. I need to be really clear. The recommendation, should you endorse it, sees modelling being done twofold. Further validation, further improvement of the Central Waitemata model, and that's specific to those 8 sites. But importantly, the expansion of that model to encompass all other areas where we currently monitor.
Yeah, still hasn't answered my question. We're talking about the Waitemata Safe Swim program here. This does not...
No. Sorry, I think you if we can just pause for a sec, Councillor Darby, we'll just get some clarity. I can see the confusion. Do you want to have another crack, Graham?
So the endorsement, should you provide it, has Council moving from monitoring 71 sites to predicting and forecasting the risk at 71 sites. We would do that through utilising 2 models, one existing, which we need to validate further, and one we need to build and validate. There's a large amount of work that needs to be done with our science team and our technical experts to achieve that by 1st of November. We're looking to get cracking.
So the issue, I think, Councillor Darby, you're raising is this is for the whole of Auckland.
Yes, Madam Chair.
The confusion is because it's seen as improvements to the Waitemata Safe Swim program. For anyone just reading once over lightly that recommendation, it doesn't necessarily make it clear that we're talking about the whole of Auckland. So I think
it doesn't read that way at all.
No. So I think we just need to take Waitemata out of that, because for those of us from the rest of Auckland, we've been reading it as the whole of Auckland. So we'll just take Waitemata gone, we're talking the whole of Auckland. Happy, councillor Darby?
Well, that makes it a lot clearer, thank you.
Cool. Excellent, yeah, I could see that confusion.
And just on the white box model is recommended for, this is another, noting the recommendations, is recommended for refinement and extension to cover the whole of the region, which is what this resolution is doing, within 5 years.
If it helps, Madam Chair, page 31 of your report has a figure that displays a black box model and it displays a white box model. I'm doing my best to avoid getting too technical here, but the central Waitemata Harbour model as it exists is the white box model. You'll see it's more advanced, more comprehensive than the black box model. In order to deliver a forecasting and predictive model across the region by 1st of November, we're going to incorporate both. Our aspiration, however, sees us working hard beyond 1st November, and what we'd like to do is bring to Council a white box model that works across all harbours and open beaches. We have a bid, or we are seeking central government assistance to do that, as the investment would be considerable.
So, sorry, what's considerable investment? So what is that?
So we've yet to work up the figures, but you're talking at least 7. What I can say confidently is what's proposed in front of you is far better than what you've got at the moment. Yep. You will have a model that forecasts risk in advance of beach use. I don't believe that you would make the decision to go swimming on the weekend based on sticking your head out the window today. It's raining. Why would we make a decision to go bathing at Point Chevalier or Mission Bay based on a sample that was taken up to 7 days ago?
No, get all that. You didn't. I'm sorry, Chair. I need to grill this because this is an area where we've actually failed miserably.
Yeah.
So I'm not backing out on this. And Grant, you didn't answer my question. You said something around enormous costs. Well, how have you arrived at to roll out the white box model regionally? Have you got estimates on that? Have you got concrete estimates on the cost to roll out the white box model? I know what the white box model is compared with the black box model. So what is the cost to roll out the white box model right across the Auckland region, and where have you sourced those estimates from?
Madam Chair, to answer the question again, we have not costed yet the investment required to stand up a white box model across the region. If members would appreciate, the independent audit was received late in December. We have worked feverishly over the last couple of weeks to bring to you a proposition that we think sees the replacement of the current monitoring program with a modelling forecast of risk by 1st of November 2017. In parallel, we will be continuing to work, our scientists, our modellers, on advancing the white box model across the region. If the committee resolves, we could bring that information back to this forum, which would entail detailed costings.
Okay, but in the interim, to roll out the predictive model within the current areas being monitored, we can do that within existing budgets for an initial capital investment of $325,000. So that's, I think Councillor Darby is quite rightly saying, I think you're trying to understand what the expanded model would mean, Councillor Darby, and what kind of costs would be involved in that.
Well, that's one of the recommendations of the report of Jenkins, is to roll it out across the region within 5 years. It says that there. So I want to understand what does that cost, and the reply was that would be an enormous cost. Yeah. And then my supplementary question is responded with, well, we don't have the cost. So I don't want to be scared off by not making the right directional calls here without evidence. Madam Chair, I'm probably speaking to the motion, so I will, because it is moved and seconded.
Yeah.
But I think some of us have sat round and discussed water quality for a long time, or the lack of water quality. We celebrate much about making contact with our harbour edges, but we actually don't go far enough in making sure that we can actually put our toes and let alone our heads into the waters on those harbour edges. We talk a lot about opening up the waterfront, but we are not really anywhere near being able to enjoy the water itself at the waterfront, be it city centre or many other coastal edges. So I think we've got a long way to go here, and I'm just a little bit concerned about a bit of smoke and mirrors on this one. It's got to be very real and genuine, and we've got to follow through, because we have been failing in this area. And I know we've repackaged stormwater into healthy waters. I'm looking way past repackaging now. I think time is up. We've got to look at the real results. I commend the staff for looking at this model and getting the Jenkins organisation to review Safe Swim, but the real test is actually going to be in further tests for pathogens to test whether this model, once rolled out, the white box model and the black box plus the white box and ultimately the white box actually does work. Time's up on this.
I think we're all saying the same thing, and you come from a council, as I do, who invested a huge amount of capital spend in the separation of stormwater and wastewater. Other councils didn't do that. So, you know, I think we come from a place that actually has respected our environments and has worked hard towards them. The current state of the wastewater system, now that we're responsible for the wider Auckland, is heartbreaking, and we're doing our best to deal with that. However, a huge amount of money is needed to retrospectively deal to neglected infrastructure. What this, I understand, looks at is we're noting the findings of the Martin Jenkins report, and I don't think anyone is ducking for cover and not wanting to fully engage with the work that's needed to progress what's suggested in that. I'm just understanding that as yet those costings have not been done. What we're being asked for today is to endorse the work to be done by the 1st of November to get the modelling and the monitoring underway. We can do that within our current budgets, and if we have, and I'm happy to alter D, that we request the staff to prepare a report which basically outlines the benefits associated with the proposed Martin Jenkins model. And I think that way this comes back to us. It gives our staff time to do the financial modelling that you're asking for, Councillor Darby, that I would presume would be the next logical step anyway. So I don't think we're at odds with this process at all.
Madam Chair, I'm very happy to put my hand up now and be accountable for this issue. This is something that's just come onto the Healthy Waters table very recently. Yeah. We will take full ownership of developing an appropriate rollout of the white box model. I think there will be a logical prioritisation process that we can follow, and it will be around areas of known water quality and also where council is facing major development pressure, because as I said previously, the two issues are quite closely linked. And so we will come back to the committee at the appropriate time. We need to get our thinking correct. We need to get accurate cost estimates prepared, so when we come back with a costing, it's a robust costing. And I would see this work as fitting in very much to the work that we're preparing for the next iteration of the LTP, that this will have some budgetary impacts, but it needs to be considered in the context of all the other issues that we're dealing with, because these are vital tools to be developed to help support major capital investment programs, both inside Healthy Waters and also within water care as well. And so I'm absolutely aligned to where Councillor Darby is coming from, and I think we need to make this a very transparent and open process and have that conversation with our communities.
And I think I'm just going to ask Mr. Clinton to comment, but we also need to look at, you know, the spend of large amounts of money on modelling versus the expenditure of large slugs of capex to actually deal to the issue. And somewhere in the middle of that, I think we reach the balance. Mr. Kempton.
Look, the only thing I want to add really, apart from what the Chair has said, is that I've suggested another D in there. We're proposing a move from the lag type monitoring that's been undertaken to date to the black box model. You've got the costs for that. That's what the resolution's are targeted on. My recommendation, and Craig's effectively just spoken to that, is that you request staff to prepare a report on the costs and benefits associated with developing the white box model as proposed in that Mark Jenkins report. We come back to you in the appropriate amount of time with our views on that for your consideration.
It's good, thank you.
Okay. Now, just to quickly check in where we're at, we still have questions. We've got Councillor Denise Lee, Member Brown, Councillor Walker, Stewart, Simpson, Cashmore and Clow. So just remembering that, you know, okay, just wanting people to think about the questions that may already have been addressed. Councillor Denise Lee.
I don't think addressed, but we'll give it a crack anyway, Madam Chair. So can you just run through for me, and it is tying in the prior discussions we've just had, that capital investment that's outlined in recommendation C, what that covers. And the reason I'm asking is, by anyone's measuring stick, literally, the risk here is going to be a lot of increased awareness for the public, and therefore education will be really paramount. So costs that we anticipate, I don't know if you've got anything in that initial capital investment, costs that we anticipate around public education and awareness, because some adverse conditions are going to be predicted on a more frequent basis. And I'd be interested, because you've looked at international best practice, specifically Scotland and others, and would you have any idea on their overall budget for transitioning to forecasting, how much of theirs was spent on education? And we've had many a discussion in reg and bylaws around signage and education and how massively important it is.